So everyone, thank you for joining us. Today we're very pleased to have Susian and Bernice to speak to us about their mentoring journey, about their art, their process, the successes, the failures. So I think who is going to start first? Is it Sue or Bernice is going to start? So take it away, Bernice. I'm going to spotlight you. Yay!
Thank you, Dorothy. Welcome, everyone. So if you can join us. First, let me explain why there's a double session this time, because most Meet the Mentee sessions are for just one mentee in the spotlight. We decided to do it together because, as a lot of you know, I'm struggling with health issues and recovery from long COVID. So my energy level is very low. It was insecure if I could make it at all today. So we decided, Susian suggested we could do it together. So if it would be too hard for me, I could quit the session earlier and she would take it over for me. So I'm going to try my best to make it to the end of the presentation I prepared. I've made some slides. A lot of them speak to themselves, I hope. So the explaining will be a bit less maybe to save my breath because my lungs are still a bit aching and to keep my energy as high as possible for today so I can still join Susian's presentation and later her engraving session, of course. You don't want to miss that. So let's start and share my screen. Okay, can you all see it?
Hold on, it's loading.
It's loading.
Is it on?
It says it's starting. So currently nothing yet. Bernice has frozen.
Oh, maybe it's a connection.
Yeah, could be her connection. Bernice, I think your screen has frozen. I'm gonna pause.
Okay, let me try again. Okay, does it show the slides?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
Yes.
Well, pushing boundaries. Yeah, we pushed some boundaries. Let me see here. Let me start to tell you a bit about me. Well, I'm from the Netherlands. I think the only European mentee this year. I used to work as a psychologist specialized in autism, and I had my own practice for a couple of years until my health got bad in 2012. I got an ear infection, and because of that, I got a vestibular disorder and problems with my nerve system. I had to quit my daytime job, and I got homebound. During that time, I was also doing a lot of photography, mainly newborn photography. And you see an example in the pictures here. It's my youngest in his father's hands. I also like to read. I read a lot, especially during the night, as I sleep very little because of the dizziness. I love coffee, but mainly decaf because with the calligraphy, I would be trembling way too much, and do some crochet. I had to quit photography in 2018 when I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. The camera became too heavy, the awkward positions I had to bend myself in to capture the newborns. It was too hard for my body. So unfortunately, only iPhone photography for me now. And most of all, I'm partner and a mom of 3 beautiful kids. Here they are, picture from last year and a more recent one. I'm living together with Richard, or as we say, Richard, and Sam and Aileen. I got them with my from my first marriage, and when Richard and I came together, we were delighted to meet Sebastian into our family as well. And as you can imagine, they're everything to me and a big support. As I had to quit photography in 2018, I was looking for another hobby to keep me busy during my days as a homebound mom with 3 kids, and 2 of them were in school then. I had to keep myself busy during the day, and while I was on Instagram, I saw beautiful pictures of calligraphy, and I was like, I want to learn that too. So I jumped on the internet and found a nice book to start, and pen and ink. And from that day, I think I barely skipped a day of writing. And my very first script was copperplate. After that, I took a lot of courses. The first one was in October of that year with Jung Hae, Fearless Flourishing. And it opened a whole new world to me. Not just writing for myself or practice from a book, but really on an interactive way, learning, rewatching the videos. Yeah, it definitely sped up my learning process. So after that, I was looking for another one, of course, and it was Dreaming in Script with David Grimes to learn and grow the script. As you can see, I took a lot of pointed pen scripts with amazing teachers. But not only traditional scripts, I also like pointed pen variations to explore this tool even more. And after that, I've had the courage to take up the Broad Edge pen too. A lot of people say it's easier. For me, it definitely wasn't, because I was so used to the pointed pen. But once I tried it, and the first course I took was with Nina, Gothicized Italic, and I was hooked as well. And especially during the pandemic, we all know there was an overload on online courses. So yeah, we could learn whatever we wanted. Besides writing different scripts, I also took different courses with amazing teachers and to learn different skills I enjoy. As a lot of you know, I love books. This is just a small part of them. I love reading. I love to take up all the information, just admire the beautiful work from other people, and different approaches to same scripts. But yeah, the variety you find in books, and you can always take them out for inspiration, to learn. Yeah. And then February 4th, last year, my birthday, and Dorothy reached out to me, asking me if I would be interested in joining this mentoring program. And my first reaction was, yeah. And then, oh no, it's so scary. And especially because I had been affected with COVID the year before. and was still struggling to get over that, and now still am. I didn't know if it would be the right time for me. Being so low in energy, a lot of days, not even, I couldn't even pick up a pencil to write or sit on a chair. But another part of me also knew this was a once in a lifetime chance. And even though Dorothy said, even though you decide not to do it, there will be chances, but there's always something in me like, yeah, I want to do this. I want to grow. I want to explore. And then she told me that my co-mentee would be Susian and our mentor would be Gemma. I couldn't refuse. All doubt was gone, and I knew I had to just jump in. And I told Dorothy, well, if you could do it last year with your struggles, I want to do it too. And hopefully it will bring me the energy back to start creating again. And bringing me back the fun in calligraphy, despite all the health struggles. And then we started our Symbiosis 2 journey. Our first meeting was just 2 weeks later, I think, and we met with the 4 of us, all different time zones, so it was quite a puzzle, with Gemma being in Australia, Susian and Dorothy in Singapore, and myself in the Netherlands. But from there, we went off. We talked to each other on a daily and weekly basis. For me, it was as soon as my kids went to school at 8:30 a.m. Susian just had her lunch right then, and Gemma finished her days and was preparing for dinner. But it worked. We had nice meetings, even more than one from my bed when I even couldn't get up. But well, with the laptop in bed, we made it work, and we had some lovely conversations, exchanging our process. Gemma gave us some amazing lectures about book binding, the Fibonacci sequence. She told us more about her work, and how she came to creating her pieces. And more than once we were blown away, and we thought, oh, Gemma, give us your brain, because how do you even come up with those ideas? And we want to learn how we have to do it, especially for me. I'm so structured and organized, and planning my work, and to let things just happen, it was totally new, and yeah, to me. Besides the Zoom meeting, we presented our work on the Padlet. We could share documents, pictures of our process. I wrote weekly demo notes from our weekend, from our Zoom meetings, and I posted them there. So yeah, that was the main part. From I think June, there were less Zoom meetings. Gemma was very busy with moving her complete life to the other side of the country. And we went into the creating stage. And from that moment, we mostly had contact through WhatsApp. So we had instant contact if we needed, and we could still share all our process pictures or whatever, or questions we wanted to ask. I had quite some personal goals, or maybe struggles I had to overcome. because I really wanted the purpose for Dorothy for this program is to make calligraphy into an art form, to make it. And up till this point, calligraphy was for me mostly writing text or a quote or making greeting cards for birthdays or holidays. But I wasn't really into making bigger pieces, or that you would classify art, if we can call it that way. So I wanted to focus on that and to let go a bit of my perfectionism. Like I told you just now, I'm very structured, planning everything in my head. Before I start something, I already have the finished piece, a mental image of it. And I was hoping to let go a bit of that. And to discover, who am I as a calligrapher? Do I have my own style? I take a lot of courses, and that way I think you take over a bit of the style of the teacher. You copy what you see in class, and then how can you make everything that you learn into your own work and your own style, and that people would say, even without a name or a caption or a watermark on the picture, that's Bernice's work. So that were the things I had in mind during this journey. Gemma gave us some exercises, mostly to explore new tools. First, she told us take out all the supplies you have, all the pens, and try different things with them. Not only what you're used to, but try to use them in a different way. Also exploring some new tools like the cola pen, and just throw out the ink on the paper without thinking, just do. And the not thinking part, that's quite a challenge. She also suggested us to keep an art journal close, just an art book and a sketchbook for quick doodles, to put down ideas, and just to let the creativity flow. And she told us, I usually sit down and just start writing Roman caps, just with pencil and just the structure, and that's the best way to practice. And from there, my ideas will come. Susian and I weren't really familiar. Yeah, we knew, of course, but not really knew them, the Roman caps. And as if it was fate, John Stevens opened he opened registration for his Roman capital class, and we decided to both join. And we did, first time using a brush, and boy, it was a challenge. I think a lot of us can agree on the difficulty of the Roman caps, but yeah, his class is amazing. We learned so much, and that will bring us further in the future with all our calligraphy, so I highly recommend it. But that was on top of the mentoring project. We dived into this, and Gemma knows them very well as well, and she helped us a lot with
Zoom.
I'm living in the jungle, it seems.
Too much excitement.
Okay, here we are again. Okay, until where did you hear? Could you hear me?
Yeah, until
it's here. You were here. Yes.
Okay, so I was talking about John Stevens' course, and the second one I took this summer. It was with Massimo Polello, because I really love his work, and it's also more free and contemporary, and it would challenge me again to work more freely. But his idea was to start with an old manuscript, copy that, get the doctors right, and from there it was going to evolve into more contemporary styles using different tools. So that spoke to me in regard of this mental project. The forming of my pieces. It took me quite a while before I got to the ideas of my final pieces. I really had no idea where we were going. We didn't have an exact theme, like, for example, Yukimi's group, who had the theme wearable calligraphy. We hadn't. We just had our personal goals, and I was quite searching for what do I want to do. But after a lecture or a demonstration, it was more from Gemma about a bookbinding process, I knew I wanted to do something with big books because they are so important to me, and it would give me the opportunity to turn my calligraphy into real pieces. So after that demonstration, I made some mock-ups from different binding examples, and here you see I used some practice pages for them. Gemma explained to us how to do the accordion binding, and that really spoke to me. After a while, I still hadn't created anything because I was going through rough weeks with a lot of inflammations in my body, exhaustion, and I was feeling down. I was feeling down because I felt I let Dorothy, Gemma, and Susian down because I couldn't come up with something. I just couldn't create. I didn't have the energy. And I felt like, yeah, see, this is not the time. I can't give them what they expect from me. But it was all in my head. They really didn't expect anything from me. And Gemma told me, even if you don't manage to create really a finished piece, it's not about that. It's not about that exposition. It's about your process and your growth and what you take from this, and we're in this together. And even if you just show some pictures in the exhibition or make a small video of what you did these last few months, that's what this is about. And that reassured me that, okay, no matter what, even if it's just one thing, or I started a thing and I couldn't finish, but I can show people what I made up till then, it was okay. And once I could let go of that stress, ideas started to flow, and I started to see where this would could go to. First idea I came up with was my papercut ampersands book. And in one of her demonstrations, Gemma showed us a book she made full of ampersands. She loves them. She knows everything about them. I think her knowledge is mind-blowing. I think you all could see that in our lecture last weekend. And if you haven't seen it, go see it. And I knew I wanted to do something with them as well, to make the connection between our project and what our mentor loves. So I decided to do something with the ampersands and to use repeating patterns that came from nature and geometry. I like to do some paper cutting, so much detail I love. And I was thinking, how can I put it together in book form? And that's when I decided to start in my art journal with all different kinds of ampersands and small thumbnails with patterns. I later transferred them to my iPad, so I could make cutting stencils from them. A whole lot of them I could do by hand in the last months, but after a while my hands got too painful, inflammations, so I decided to digitize them and let my Cricut maker finish the job for me. And this is how it turned out. And I'm quite proud of it, especially when they totally folded. I love to see them all. So I hope, and I know Gemma loves them too. The second idea was still an idea that was totally planned out, like I'm used to, but a project that I haven't done before, such a big project, and I wanted to make a connection between my past and present. And maybe you remember from my first slide, the logo for my psychology practice had a butterfly in it. For me, it felt close to the children I coached with autism. Through coaching, they could grow and develop and blossom like butterflies. And I see that in my calligraphy as well. The more I learn, the more I can show from myself and hopefully open up to a beautiful butterfly. But no, not only as an artist, but as a person as well. And especially this mental journey learned a lot about me. I learned a lot about myself, but also coping with chronic illness. It shows who you are as a person. And for me, the butterfly represents that. I chose this form because when you open the booklet, it's also the unfolding of a butterfly. And I used two scripts. The one with copperplate is the spiral, and the stanzas are in italic. Copperplate because it was the very first script I've learned, and italic because it's the most present one. And for me, the poem itself doesn't have any meaning, but it just had 6 stanzas, and that fitted nice in the design. I started with some mock-ups again of the unfolding to see if what I had in mind would make it in practice. For the first time, I used Sumi ink stick, and then I did the writing. The spiral are all butterfly names in Latin. And the italic is in 2 millimeters, which was quite a challenge as well, since I hadn't wrote that before so small. I think one of my most beautiful books is Amira, and I wanted to do something with it, and it's all about nature. So I took some inspiration for the butterflies and the little caterpillar to add them to my book. I painted 4 different butterflies with watercolor, and I'm not very used to it, so it was quite a challenge, but I'm happy with how they turned out. And this is the result. And my final book, my most challenging book, because here there wasn't a pre-planned design, but everything from the past months came together in this one, and it really reflects the process I went through, the new techniques and tools I've used. This one was the one who was pushing my boundaries. Nothing pre-planned, just one big piece of paper and just start. And like Gemma tells us, just put down that first stroke and go from there. This was very, very hard for me. And as I was reflecting on our project when I was in France, I was writing down our journey, what we've done so far, and I was crying. I was like, I wanted to learn this, but I just can't. This is not my thing. How does Gemma do this? I want to learn this too, but it's so not me. I just can't do it. And that last book, it's going to be a disaster. But funny enough, once I put that on the paper and I got home and pushed myself, okay, just create now. We have only 2 weeks left because Dorothy sent us an email. And there was suddenly there was a deadline. I just had the nerve, I think, just to do it. And yes, that first piece of paper, I totally ripped apart and throw it away. And then I thought, oh no, I had to keep it because we have to show our failures in the presentation. So I can't show it anymore because it's gone. But there was some failure, let me tell you that. But it was freeing to let go of those rules, to let go of that perfectionism of measuring out everything, to have a pre-planned design in my mind and just do. I didn't know what the subject of my book would be, but then I remembered Gemma asking us in our sessions, just think about who are you? What's special for you? What's different for you from the others? And obviously, I'm Dutch, and I love the Delft blue pottery a lot. The color scheme of the blue and white and some black. So I knew once I got the thought I want to do something with that. So I took that as my first idea for the color scheme. And then I thought, okay, I want to do something with text. Not tell a story in a book, but something that will constantly come back to it. And I remembered one of the first poems I've learned in school. And it was Denkend aan Holland, of Herinnering aan Holland. And in English it is Thinking of Holland. And it tells about the Dutch landscape and the floods in '53, which was a disaster in our country. So I took that poem as a base. Here, what we learned in Massimo's course was helpful because he worked with layering and using different tools to work from a script, but make it into different forms. I wasn't always able to really write because of the pain in my hands. So Gemma suggested look into asemic writing, and I hadn't ever heard of it. So I looked up some information, and it quite spoke to me. It means that it's a wordless open semantic form of writing. So you write, but it doesn't have a meaning, and it's like you scribble. But once I tried it, it felt very freeing and almost meditative, and it brought peace to me, and it was fun. And immediately when I put it on the paper, it brought texture to the whole piece. So that was a very good suggestion. And even now I use it with my journaling, because often I felt I couldn't write down my real thoughts because, oh, what if someone reads it, and I don't want to read other people that they read my black thoughts or whatsoever. But once you put down your thoughts, you write in asemic writing, but you're not exactly putting down the words. So you can let go of your thoughts without anyone being able to read it. And that's a great feeling. So I finally came to some large sheets full of paper, layering different scripts, using tools like I used the balsa, I used the brush, the Brody pen, automatic pen, micron, fine liners, ruling pen, to come to different pages and structures. And I used some black too. And here you see also from our lecture from Gemma about the Fibonacci sequence. It all comes back into these pages. I made the pages in half and made folios of them, and then we came to the book binding part, and I made some beads for decoration from my practice pages. And here it all came together in this book, and it really reflects these past months. It's not a piece I think, oh wow, that's gorgeous, like we see gorgeous writing, but I know my struggles are here and here. I've conquered some boundaries I had for myself, so that makes that I'm proud of this. And yeah, I think that's where I am now. It's not the end of this journey, it's just the start, and it's been huge to me, and to do this together with Susian and Gemma, it's been priceless. I've learned so much from them, not only in calligraphy but about myself, the way my brain works, to open up to new possibilities and experiences, and it's been wonderful. So thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Bernice. Thank you.
Okay, and now I need to sit.
Thank you. So maybe we move on to Sue, and then later we can have a Q&A. Is that how it goes? Or Bernice, you want to take Q&A now?
Yeah, if there are questions I can take now, or
Yeah, if you have questions for Bernice. Bernice, you should look at the chat. You know, there's
okay.
a lot of
Oh, yeah.
very encouraging. You have been so inspiring, Bernice.
Dutch totally sounds like a baby trying to mumble English.
Yeah. So yeah, very inspiring. So no questions? No questions for
Thank
Bernice?
you. Thank you.
Questions, huh? Well, if you have, you can type it in the chat. You can preface it with a question mark, and then we'll know that it is a question. So no questions, then maybe we give it over to Sue.
Yay!
Oh, wait, Roxana says, I can relate to you when you say you need to think and structure everything. And what would your advice be to let go and work freely?
Yeah, if only I had that answer. Yeah. Only thing I can say is just do, and remind yourself it's just paper, and you can rip it apart if you hate it and throw it away. And I don't really have the answer to that because it's still a struggle to me, and I think it will always be. It's part of who I am, but just do it and put it aside, and then because you think, oh, this is awful, but once you look back after a week or so, you think like, oh, maybe it might be okay, and it builds up. And for me, it helped that I made a book out of it, because when I made the big pieces, they're not beautiful pieces on their own I would put on my wall, let's be honest. But it's what I was trying at that moment. And when I made half pieces of them and put them into a book, in the book you only see pieces of it, and together it makes a whole. And that might help to break it up and to not see it as one big piece that has to work and be perfect, because what's perfect? But maybe that could help you too.
Somebody is asking, okay, Jessica says, I've been following you on IG, and yes, you're very structured. Will we be expecting a new Bernice on IG in future? And then Actor says 2.0. 2.0.
Well, not a new, but hopefully more complete, or a developing Bernice. And we develop every time we learn new things. So, yeah.
Thank you. That's very
May
good.
I make an observation?
Yes, please.
Oh, I'd just like to say that I've learned some things from tonight's talk. Bernice, thank you so very much. Even though I've been working with you for the last 8 months, it's been an extraordinary unveiling of a number of things tonight, bearing your soul to everyone, your calligraphic soul. You are an extraordinary woman, and you are correct. This is the beginning of the rest of it to come. So congratulations and thank you.
Oh, thank you, Gemma. Oh, now you make me cry.
Yeah, okay. Pui says not a question, but your work is absolutely beautiful, Bernice, and it's been so wonderful to hear about your journey.
Yes. Thank you. So sweet.
That's great. Okay. So I think
Susian.
a lot of us must be thinking, you know, if Bernice can do it, I mean, I have no excuse. Over to you, Susian. I'm going to remove this.
No, but okay, let's do this. Let me try to share screen.
Take it away.
Yes. Can everybody see my screen? I think so, because I've got my iPad next to me, actually showing the screen. Go girl. Okay. All right. So, hi everyone. I'm Sue, and I'm currently working as a graphic designer in an events company. I can't share any photos because we do a lot of government work, so that's why there's an imaginative slot there for you. I used to do packaging design. So for
anyone local, if you try Crave, I designed the box. And I also do some freelance calligraphy on the side. I'm from Malaysia, Penang to be exact. And I came here in 2011 to Singapore to further my studies in LaSalle College of the Arts. And then I started working here in 2015 after graduating. Oh, nervous. Okay. I was actually supposed to do medicine because I studied biology, chemistry, and what's that other E? Physics in high school. But I've always really liked art and design. So I thought, okay, you know what? Let me just give this a try. So that's when I enrolled in LaSalle. There's the photo right here. This is my college. And funny story, I actually chose this college because I thought it looked really cool from the outside. But I really enjoyed my time there. And I was exposed to a lot of things, which I'm very grateful for, like bookbinding, printmaking, even embroidery, as well as other things like photography. And I also make bracelets. For some reason, I think that's like a prerequisite for calligraphers to have made bracelets before in their lives, because Dorothy also made bracelets before. Yeah, and so how the education system in that college worked back when I was there was that we were all placed in a big group, like called a cohort. There were, I think, 200 of us, for us to explore different mediums of art, 2D, 3D, fashion, textiles, photography, and all that. And then after that, we could choose which one we'd like to specialize in. And I chose 2D, and that's where I actually learned about lettering. Like prior to this, I just thought I was copying an anime logo and just drawing it. I thought it was just drawing. But in college, I learned that it was lettering. And if you can see in 2013, that adventure is really so tragic. But I'm just going to put that there as a treat for all of you. And then in 2015, my college mate, my friend, wanted to take a class with Susan Lee, Olive Leaf Kelly on Instagram at Paper Market. And that thank you, Susan, was all I could write after class. You can see the horrible majuscules, but it's okay. It's a learning curve. And as a hobby does with somebody who has ADHD, it kind of died off there. Like I knew it, but I just left it there. But I still enjoyed making cards, making I think that was for a Christmas dinner or something for my friends. And I actually enjoyed sharing it more than learning. That was so bad. Because I was so amazed, like, hey, there's this art form out there. Do you know about it? Do you know about it? So I think at that time I was just constantly sharing with people, oh, hey, look at this calligraphy. It's great. It's so pretty. And it wasn't about the money at all. It was really just me wanting to share with people. And I think this might have been a reason why Dorothy reached out to me, because the next thing I knew, she was asking me to attend this gathering where we call it Beginner's Table, where a group of us would just teach the community about calligraphy and lettering for free. And it was really fun. That photo was taken in, I'm gonna say Indonesia. I can't remember, but I think so. And Nina was there with us, and the photo in the middle is me anchoring, mentoring-ish, a table-ish, and some photos of my packaging designs over there. And that's, I think, where my calligraphy journey took a pause. I wasn't really keen on, not keen, I just wasn't progressing. I could do it, I could sort of write it maybe, and that was that. Yeah. So I actually quit my job in 2019 to take a break to just try to regain my passion for the arts, because my previous workplace was not the best place, but it was okay. And that's when my friend Joyce Cole, she introduced me to engraving, because she said, "Oh, hey, you can write, you can engrave." So I said okay, and then you can see my first attempt at roses over there. So quite funny. You'll see more later during the engraving sharing. And yeah, I thought it was okay. It was the festive season. I remember I quit in September. So I'm sure most of you who do calligraphy, you know that October, November, and December are the best months for us because of all these festivities going on. And yeah, I was 1 month, became 2, it became 3, and then next thing you know, I was 4 months without employment, and I was living my best life. But after the festive season passed, I started to feel a bit anxious, and yeah, because I couldn't foresee how my career would go from there. And thus began my journey to find corporate employment. So I started looking for a job, and that's how I landed in my job currently. And that was in 2020, February 2020. So as you guys know, 2020 was kind of an interesting year for everyone. But I actually found it very enjoyable for some reason. I was very fortunate that my company was still keeping all of us. But I mean, of course, with a lower salary, but very, very thankful that they even kept us, because a lot of people were losing their jobs and we were working from home. And I had the best time because I was doing all these little projects. I was making masks for my friends. Where's my mask? Over here. I was doing embroidery again. I made Dalgona coffee. Everybody makes Dalgona coffee in 2020. And that's actually when I started experimenting with broad edge, because I had all these metallic paints. I'm sure you guys know I'm a hoarder. I have so many metallic paints, and I really wanted to utilize them fully. So I learned back then what I thought learning was looking at an exemplar and just copying. So I learned all this broad edge thingies on my own, and I even made some cards to send off to frontline workers who have been serving the nation and all that. And this is an apple peel that Rachel peeled, because I never knew you could peel apples like that. So I was learning a lot of things doing them. And it wasn't until August, I'm going to say August of 2020, that Dorothy kind of signed me up for Nina's Gothicized Italics class, because that was when virtual classes was picking up. And my life just changed from there. Nina is the best teacher. You guys don't even know. She's so meticulous. She can, I think Bernice loves her because she can tell you the space between this is 2x of that. And it's just so great. Like I was shown a whole new world of calligraphy, and everything was so fun. Yeah, and I bought my first pilot parallel, and these were my notes from her class. And that was a very new and improved look to the metallics after taking one course with Nina. I'm not sponsored to say this. She's just really good, and I love it so much. And from there, I was just introduced to this whole new world. Like, oh, there's a structure to this learning. There's so many things to explore, and that really propelled me down this learning spiral, where, like Bernice, I took course after course after course. I took Unshow with Barbara Close. I took the numbers class with Rachel for Bikestrel. I took a wedge brush class, and yes, this is what I like to do, right? Nonsense like parts. And and then Textura, yeah, Textura with Nina, and most recently, Roman Caps with John Stevens, and the filigree class with Benoit. Oops. Yeah, so that was such a learning curve for me, and today I would like to feel that I'm experimenting even more with different styles, different types of calligraphy. I'm even actually starting illustrating a bit more because it's fun and I like to draw. So yeah, that's where we are at today. And fast forward to 2022, I think it was January, if I'm not mistaken. Dorothy I think she texted me and she said, "Hey Sue, do you like Gemma Black's work? Or what do you think of Gemma Black's work?" And I'm going to be very honest, I stopped her right that moment because I wasn't absolutely sure. There's just so much going on the interweb right now. And I was so bewildered by her work because, like, as you can see, my work is just a name, a word, a name, and her work is like the whole piece of paper is art, you know. And that I said I love her work. I haven't been a fan for very long. I think it was 20 minutes, but it was a journey, and I would love to be a mentee under her. And I think she asked as well, who do I think would be interested in this Symbiosis initiative? And of course I said Bernice, because in all the classes that I was in, she was in it too. and I see her work and I see my work and something's not adding up, but I thought she was just this amazing, and she is this amazing person. And little did I know she was going to be my fellow mentee and we would go through this amazing journey as friends. And it was just, oops, did you do that? And it was just great. Oops, I forgot one slide. This is Dorothy, if you don't already know. That was a photo we took recently at a museum. Yeah, she's just a gem. Yeah. And so began our mentoring journey. We started on the 21st of February of this year. And according to Bernice's really amazing notes, we've met 12 times in total. Now, we would usually meet on the weekdays, as Bernice mentioned just now as well. And Gemma would be so kind. She would be on Zoom with us, and then she said, "Okay, I have to go prep dinner. I have to go do this and that." And she just made so much time for us. And I'm just so grateful for everything that she has done for us. I'm totally off script. I have a script that I'm totally off right now. But let's see what's the next slide. The next slide is Gemma. So yeah, first time meeting her was very easy for all three of us, for 3 of us, to start a conversation and open up. I think it was our first or second meeting that we poured our heart out. Bernice shared her struggles, I shared my struggles, and we were also struggling together, and it was great. And Gemma's knowledge of everything is just, of art, is just so vast. As I put there, it's as big as Scrooge McDuck's vault. This is his vault. If you don't know, it's huge. And I photoshopped it to save Gemma's brain, because that's how I feel. 2 years of art school just to Photoshop Gemma's brain on this thing, and it was so good. It was such a journey. So every meeting, she'd be like, "Oh, what would you guys like to do next time? Oh, would you like me to share this? Would you like me to do that?" And as Bernice said, she's super in love with Roman caps. So I was quite busy at the time. So I actually made a brush on Procreate to do those squiggles, the Nina squiggles. So I could just stamp them in a row and write over them. And when I showed that to Bernice and Gemma, they were like, "Whoa, it's revolutionary," because I was trying to make life easier for us as calligrapher. And from then, I think that sparked what I didn't know was going to be my third piece for this exhibition. yeah, it was then. And everything was just, I don't know where my speech. Okay, never mind. Sorry, let me just, there we go. Okay. So our explorations were interesting, were many. I also made a small book and tried out Gemma's layering things. And I even dug out a book I did in college that had a pop-up because Bernice wanted to do pop-ups, and I shared that with her. Yeah, that was interesting. It was very interesting how our conversations would flow. You know, we would go into it not knowing anything, not knowing what we were going to do that day. And I remember I was telling them, hey guys, I'm going to get a tattoo tomorrow. And then Gemma started telling me, oh, did you know this guy sold his body to this museum for this tattoo? And I thought, hey, why don't I try like, so if you can see here, I actually took a short tattoo course and tried calligraphy on fake skin, and I did some Jaguar, which is like henna but black drawings and writing. The writing is very bad, and it lasts for 2 weeks. So my friend was walking around with this for 2 weeks on her arm. And I even tried beading because I used to do beading. Thought I could bead some text, but that didn't pan out. And then some layering. What I did here was I engraved on perspex, and I used the shadow to kind of do some wave motion thing. So that was interesting. And little did I know that would come back later on in my pieces, right? And yeah, there was a lot of exploration. I don't know exactly how I came to this. I think it was the layering Gemma was talking about in her work, and I wanted to try a dual message kind of thing. So I looked into UV ink, which is this one. This is UV ink, and it only shows up with in the presence of a black light or a blue light. Yeah. So apart from that, I also ventured a bit into glow-in-the-dark ink because I wasn't very happy that the viewer would need to have a blue light to see your work. And yeah, there was a lot of exploration, trying fun things. But you know what was around the corner? It was 2 weeks to submissions. So I was like, oh no. And this is the end of August. I had nothing to show yet, nothing tangible to show. And as Bernice said, I think the thing that scared me the most, or that caused the most anxiety, was I didn't want to let Gemma and Dorothy down, because these two women have given me so much, and they never asked for anything back. And I'm just here trying to make things work. But let me tell you, the last 2 weeks are truly when all the work happened. Like, I felt that I had transcended to an astral plane, and my fingers were just mediums that were doing work. Yeah, all these concepts and ideas just flowed through my fingers in the last 2 weeks. I'll talk more about that later. So thus begun my Amazing Race Part 1, where I conceptualized my first piece, which I titled Tam Vanum, which I hope translates to meaningless in Latin. So the reason I chose this text to do is because Bernice and Gemma are very book people. They are so in love with books, and I felt a little bit out of place. Not out of place, but the only books I have are calligraphy reference books. I don't read as much as them. So I felt I was a bit pressured to make a book at the start. And I think that's where the resistance was. And that kind of hindered my creative process and journey, because I was trying to force myself to do something that I wasn't super 100% for. So I don't know what clicked in me in the last 2 weeks, but I thought, you know what? It's okay, let's not do a book. So I got this acrylic sheet, And I remember very clearly that Gemma mentioned that time was a very prevalent theme in many of her works because it means a lot to her. And Bernice was also pouring her heart out, saying, "Oh yes, I want to make a piece that's me, that's Bernice." And I'm just here saying, you know what? Let me make a piece that means nothing, because that's going 180 degrees the other way of what they were doing. And that's the sort of person I am. I'm like this annoying person that will do the opposite of what you tell me to. So yeah, I thought it would be an interesting take to make a piece of art that meant nothing. And that's why I chose to use lorem ipsum, which is placeholder text. So in design, we use this to put when the client hasn't given us text yet. So it means nothing. And you can remove or add letters wherever you want, because it doesn't change the fact that it really doesn't mean anything. And this L was actually, I learned it in Bernice's class, and I had taken the class only 1 week before I decided to do this. So it was really like a go kind of moment. And that's how the first piece came to be. I'm gonna pay attention very closely because it's very subtle. The transition for the middle image is very subtle, but wow, it's on. Yeah, so it's a light fixture where the bottom is a strip of light and it illuminates the engraving. Yeah, and you see that at night. So I tried to make a piece that was beautiful yet meaningless. Like can a piece of art be beautiful if it has no meaning? And I suppose in doing so, it kind of gave it meaning. So I don't know where this is going, but there we go. The first piece was born, and I was a proud mother. But then began my amazing race part 2 because I needed to do another one. I couldn't just submit one. And this is actually, this piece is my favorite middle child, because this is really an ode to mine and Bernice's journey in this mentoring initiative and everything. I think both of us were very pressured or stressed out because we were just so worried about disappointing everyone, each other, our mentor, our Dorothy. And then we would just wallow in our disdain together on WhatsApp, like, oh, I don't want to do anything today. But one of us would just go, hey, stop, we're amazing, we have to do this, let's go. So I thought this was really dedicated to our journey because we were so comfortable being upset, or rather, we didn't want to start because we had anxiety starting, but that's why this piece says it cannot always be nice, because you can't keep yourself in toxic situations like that. Even though it's comfortable, sometimes it is comfortable to stay there. You just have to move on, and that's the message in the day when you see it being cast as a shadow. Even if you're not ready for the day, you still have to go through it. Time's not gonna stop for you or your doubts, self-doubts and all of that. And that's how this piece came to be. It was, sorry, let me just go back to highlight something. It was so tricky to do this because I couldn't see the ink. It was invisible. So I had to work while holding my UV light on top of my head and just praying the paper didn't move. And then I tried to make my own frame. I don't know. I don't know. In the end, I just bought a frame. And I actually learned from my first piece that working with perspex, you have to be very careful because it scratches very easily. And that'll show up in if it's illuminated or if it's cast in the shadow. So hence my amazing washi taping skills over here. And yeah, this is my piece. Where in the day it will read, even if we are not ready for the day, it cannot always be like, which shows up at night. And yeah, I quite like it because from a distance, it's literally just a framed square, a framed white square, and you're like, what? But yeah, I like creating that feeling with my pieces of work. Yeah, let's see. I'm on page 5. Great. So I think this brought me to the last week of the exhibition, if I'm not mistaken. And I put here the Amazing Race part question mark because there was just so many moving parts in my life at that time, because I had events for work, because I worked for an events company. I had to be on site to stand by. I still had this piece to do, which I didn't know how I was going to do. And I still needed to take photos of my previous works, because those are physical works, not digital like this one. And I remember texting Rachel, and both of us were just panicking and running around like headless chickens, because both of us hadn't finished everything. And she was so kind to offer to take my pieces, my first 2 pieces, and take photos for me. And in return, I would teach her how to use Photoshop to edit her photos. So this is truly symbiosis right here. We were just trying to make it together. And it's so, thanks, Rachel. Yeah, so I was thinking really hard to make this, how I was going to make this happen, because I didn't have the software knowledge to do a 3D piece, but I wanted to do a 3D piece to highlight the layers of the work. Yeah, I remember seeing Gemma's work and saying, hey, wouldn't it be cool if you could like push to the work and see all the layers that you've done, you know, and that stuck with me. And I didn't know how to do that. So I was so close to just using iMovie and like making a video of the work. And I was thinking, and then I took a TikTok break. And on TikTok, I saw this guy. His name is his handle is One Pikapi on Instagram. That's ONEPIKAPI on Instagram. His name is Andy, and he does these digital illustrations that just, which, you know, you can zoom in, you can rotate, and that was so cool. And that was me going, hey, this is what I want to do. So I spent that bus ride to work thinking about how I could make this work, because I still really wanted to keep it semi-traditional. Like I didn't want to fully make my piece digital. I just wanted to enhance the experience with technology, not replace it. So what I did was I wrote everything out on pieces of paper, one element at a time. So this is one piece, and this is many, many pieces. And I took a very Gemma-esque approach where I didn't know what the outcome was going to be. I just knew what I wanted to do. And that was so fun. I was just making marks on paper, turning the paper. That circle was freehand. my F is not the best, but I'm just making marks. And then what I did was I would convert these into a PNG. A PNG file means that I get rid of the background, and I can use that image without the background, like here, where I just put it on the side here and you don't see the background of the paper. Yeah, and this was completely new to me. This one photo of it saying testing layer and layer 2, that was my only time to explore the software. It's called Mental Canvas, by the way, if you guys want to give it a try. Yeah, so that was that. I got the elements done, I prepared them, and then I laid them out on Mental Canvas. So how did I go about it? I knew I wanted to have it framed to look like an exhibition piece, but then when you zoom in, you can see everything that goes on beyond that, right? So yeah, I think it worked, maybe. Yeah. The next slide, I have a video, but I forgot to mute the video. So just bear with me for a while. Yeah, so that's how it works on an iPad. It works better on a landscape thing. Yeah, I was quite happy with how it turned out. I'm sure though, but it's okay. So I titled this piece Relevance because as we are progressing, I want to keep this art form relevant. You know, yes, paper is great. I love paper, but I think with how fast everything is moving, you know, NFTs popping up here, Bitcoin, I don't know what's happening. And people are transitioning into digital calligraphy, like Procreate and all of that. And I wanted to keep the traditional calligraphy, not just change it. It's not the same. So yeah, that's how this piece came to be. I hope I did it. And these are all my pieces for Symbiosis. I thought this is where my journey would end. You know, because you do think, what is my life after this mentoring thing? And it was quite refreshing because just on Monday, this Monday, like 4 days ago, I texted my friend Kathleen, who does watercolor, because Gemma and Dorothy were very enthralled by my glow in the dark pigment ink. And at that time, I just mixed it with gum arabic and called it a day. But what happens is it solidifies. So with the support, the aggressive support of Dorothy and Gemma, I texted my friend Kathleen. She sells watercolors. Her Instagram handle is Sunflower Tales. I texted her to see if she could help me make it a reality, like a real thing. So I went to her studio. I was on MC because I was a bit sick, but I went in the evening. So I went to her studio and we started mixing paints. And they're still drying today. They're here drying, but we have a few things to work out. And this actually sparked conversation between the both of us. Maybe we might be doing something together, who knows? Who knows what the future holds, but I just wanted to share this because I suppose this is a testament to how the fact, a testament to the fact that the mentoring journey does not end when the exhibition closes. But there is still so much to explore, and we can take our experiences and our learnings from this period of time and use it as fuel to push us forward. Because before we started, I was so tired with calligraphy. I think doing it for corporate clients really takes a lot out of you. I spoke to Gemma many times saying, how do you work with fatigue? How do you make art for yourself when you're so tired? And she says you need to learn how to separate what's for you and what's for them. And I was putting all of me in everything. So I was left with just a shell of fatigue. And I think Dorothy knows this too, because I sent her a photo of a stack of papers that were in my room. And yeah, it was really a very amazing experience. I really would like to thank Dorothy for birthing this brain, this idea. Your brain is just so big. And Gemma as well for taking us as sort of she called us her friends in her talk. And I tell you, I just bawled. I started crying nonstop because I didn't realize that through this mentorship, we did become friends. You know, meeting every other week, sharing what's happening with our lives, supporting each other. And no, don't cry now. And it was just so wholesome. So thank you, Dorothy, for your big brain. Thank you, Gemma, for your big heart. And thank you, Bernice, for going through this with me. And also thank you everyone for being here on a Friday night when you put me out partying, but you're here partying with us. I'm very grateful for all of you, everyone, and everything.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You did it. Yay.
Thank you.
Sharing. Amazing.
Amazing.
Woohoo.
Observation.
Yes,
Another
please.
wonderful, beautiful, clever individual. Yeah, you're going places, girl. That's it. Thanks for being part of my life for the last 8 months.
Thank you too, Gemma. Please don't go out of my life. Stay.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm here. Don't worry.
That's great. It's amazing. I think, do you all have any questions? There's a lot of hearts I see in the chat. Hearts for Sue. Thank you so much. Amazing presentation. Yes, true. All true. Any questions for Sue? Or comments? Bernice says that she's really proud. Oh, yeah. Actually, I have a question for the group, right? With Gemma together. Because like if you look at Yukimi's group, they have a lot of what's the word? Like they're working on a similar theme. But Gemma, your group is very diverse. You know, Sue has like engraving, and then she has the 3D thing, the interactive thing, and then Bernice is doing, you know, breaking out of traditional, going into experimental and so forth. So how did you bring about that symbiosis? I mean, how does it play off one another, you know, when the projects are so different?
I think sometimes it's good to have a theme, and that structure works very well. If everybody would like to do that. Bernice and Susian definitely had so many strings to their bows that I really wanted them to dig deep and to find out who they were, and to try and bring forward those elements or the essence of who they were. Go find your own selves. Let's not do a theme. In fact, I didn't even think of running a theme. But on the other hand, I really enjoyed Yukimi's themed group, because everybody worked sort of to the beat of their own drum. And that worked the same way as Bernice and Susian. So, you know, they both have their benefits. And I really didn't pick or choose one over the other. I just allowed it to happen between the three of us. It really was, you know, the three musketeers. And of course, you made four.
Would Bernice and Sue want to weigh in on this? Like, how did you feel that you were helping each other or feeding each other's creativity in the process?
I think well, in the beginning, we were searching for a team, because we were like, oh, Yukimi's group was already ahead of us, so we thought, okay, what would our team be? And it would give us something to hold on, to have a thread throughout the process to turn to. But it went in a natural way, that we had our own thoughts of where we wanted to go from. And Gemma constantly encouraged us to follow our own heart and not holding on to something, how do you say it, that was set in stone. We had to go back to, because this is what we were planning. Now just let it go and just see where it brings you. And that wasn't easy, but it worked for us, I think. Susian?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. We did settle on a B theme, like what it means to be or something. But I think that in itself strayed us in different paths because we are different people. And what I like is not exactly what Bernice is going to like. And the way Gemma just brought all of this together was every week she was just talking casually, asking us what we want to share. If we have problems, we can ask her, which she was very helpful with, and just feeding us inspiration every week. Oh, let's do Fibonacci, let's do this, let's do that, let's do bookbinding, let's do paper. And it's just so nice to look forward to because it's at 3 o'clock my time. So it's after lunch and sitting down to a mini workshop. And just having that support system and someone of her caliber saying, just do it, sort of giving you the permission to explore this art form was kind of the validation I think Bernice and I needed to move forward. Because sometimes we do think like, oh, I'm not good enough to make a piece of art. I'm not good enough to make an exhibition piece. But many months this Gemma, I just hear her voice in my head going, you go for it, girlfriend. I'm just like, okay, great. I can do this.
You can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're not the only one. I've heard the other mentees also say that they internalize the voice of their mentor. So when they are working, they can hear the voice telling them, you can do this, you can do this.
And it's all in an Australian accent. I can't even do an Australian accent, but I can hear it.
It's funny. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
does anyone have any other questions or comments? I know it's past it's like half an hour past time, past the hour, but you know, because we have two artists presenting, so I think that's reasonable. I mean, I really appreciate your presentation. And okay, question: in time is such an creative and meaningful piece of art. Did you write with the invisible ink at night? Sue, I think that's your question.
So for invisible ink, the UV ink, you need a UV light to be able to see it. It doesn't work in the dark. So
Okay.
I actually used glow in the dark ink. So that ink you can charge with light and that would glow for a while. And that's how I managed to take the video. But yes, I wrote everything at night because I work from 9 to 5. But I also used the UV light and like wrote it under that because I really couldn't see it otherwise. Oh, and she requested for the shoulder dance just now. So here it is.
Yes.
That's all. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you've made my day. There we are.
Yes. Awesome. Gemma, thank you so much. I know it's awfully late for you.
Yes. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, my wonderful, wonderful mentees. Good night.
Thank you, Gemma. Good night. Love you.
Yeah. I'm going to stop the recording.